They were aviation, physical, science, and physics factors, and human factors. But they're all logical. And we had a series of things that, in hindsight, we did wrong. And had one of those things not been done wrong, there would have been no crash that day. But see, they were all lined up, typical of airplane crashes. It's usually never one thing that causes an airplane crash. The newspapers, they always want to know what caused this crash. It's never really that simple, usually. It's a combination of factors put together that happened. So, did God cause the crash? No. Did God know it was going to happen? Yes. Why was I spared? Well, I've had a lot of time to think about that. I've had a lot of time to contemplate why I lived and the others didn't live. And I keep coming back to the fact that God answered the prayers of my parents, my grandparents, and those that were around me that loved me. And I would say primarily my grandparents. They would get up and pray out loud by name for their grandkids. And it just so happened that I had a really great relationship with my grandparents. I have told a lot of people that don't know me very well. I tell a lot of them that I was raised by my grandparents. Because in a way I was. My grandfather was my dad's mentor. My grandfather and grandma, we lived really close to each other. When I got married and we had our family, I made sure that we lived walking distance to grandma and grandpa. My grandparents prayed for their grandkids, and I was being prayed for with faith on a daily basis. So, did God cause the crash? Of course not. Did God spare me from that crash? Yes. Did I deserve it? No. I didn't deserve to live, really, and that I didn't do anything to earn being alive, but my grandfather and my grandmother, they prayed for their grandkids every day, and I was one of them. I will say this too, that as a child, when I was in the 5th grade, I ended up at a summer Christian camp in the summertime, for 1 week. And it's right here in Southern California. It's called Cedar Crest. And this was about 1961, 62. I don't remember everything that happened that week, but I do remember a few things. And the most important one was given to me as a flashback in the emergency room, of all things. We were talking about that earlier. But I was in the emergency room, the doctor's working on me, but my body's on the table, but I'm up above, hovering above my feet, looking down at the whole emergency room, knowing that this is now an emergency room, sterile instruments over here on the wall, being ready to be put to use, busy nurses scurrying around, my clothes being cut off, the doctor busy doing what he's doing. And I have what is best called just a flashback. It's really like in my mind, I had those old movie reels where they're mechanical and you roll them and you see a picture, like little cartoons. I had a little image of my past, of my life, while I'm in the emergency room. One of the first things that comes to mind is this Christian camp in the 5th grade, where I'm actually walking forward in a group of kids, maybe 300-400 kids, and there's an adult pastor who's been preaching about the life of Jesus and who Jesus is, and that he was the Son of God, that he was sent by God to earth, not to condemn the earth, but that those who would believe on him would be saved. And so I learned this story about Jesus and that he loved me. And I had a little understanding of that as a child from my upbringing. But this pastor, I don't even remember his name, but he really did something and said some things. And I found myself watching this flashback of an image that occurred that I had completely forgotten about. And I was kneeling at an old chapel in the mountains. There was a wooden cross nearby, and this guy had his hand on my shoulder and he was praying. Well, he was leading me in a prayer, and I was repeating it. And I remembered the prayer, and I remembered doing that. And I'm in the hospital looking down at my body, and I'm watching this like a movie of what happened years earlier in the 5th grade.